There is a narrative that transgender female athletes have an advantage, that they always win, that the reason that men and women generally compete in separate gender categories is because it's not particularly competitive for men to compete against women. Do studies support that?
Well, I think it depends on what you mean by support that. For my reporting and having really reported this out for many years, the reality is that from a scientific perspective, we know that there are differences in sexes, and we know that the differences do tend to lead to athletic performance differences as well. However, when we look at broad-based restriction at all levels of sport, it's very challenging to say that scientifically that is supported in all cases, meaning that something that might be appropriate for swimming does not necessarily apply to basketball when it comes to individual sports versus team sports, as well as level of competition. And so the idea, I think, that transgender women have an advantage in all sports at all times, regardless of any kind of medical transition, I don't think that the scientific literature supports that at this time.
And they're defining biological sex as having distinguished characteristics that can be supported by a birth certificate or a signed affidavit. In my opinion, that makes no sense. Because when trans women typically change their documents, they can get a new birth certificate with the new gender marker on it. So that talking point is very minute, but let's continue. Now, although they will ban transgender women and girls from participating, transgender men and boys can participate on women's teams without limitation if they were assigned female at birth and have not begun hormone therapy. What the hell?
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I gotta tell you guys, the woke revolutionaries are not going to like this story because they continue to tell us that, hey, we should allow biological boys to compete against biological girls in sports because we don't have enough cases of biological boys dominating biological girls for it to matter. And if that's their argument, then I think that it is important that every time we see what is clearly and obviously going to happen, what we knew was going to happen when you have biological boys versus biological girls in sports, happen on the playing field, which is that the biological boy is going to dominate, we must talk about it and show it as evidence and proof that, hey, in a vast majority of the cases, biological boys do have an advantage over biological girls and that the competition is in fact unfair, especially when you have the biological boys absolutely dominating. I mean, just absolutely smoking women. Okay, in athletic competition, which is what this story is about, which takes place at an Oregon high school track competition in which we have a transgender athlete absolutely dominate all the girls. Okay, and it's not even close. I mean, it's one of those things where it is undisputable that this is not fair competition, right? This is not fair. Okay, so I want to read about it and then we're going to watch the clip because again, the left, as you can see, the liberal media, Jake Tapper, said that this is a narrative. There's a narrative out there that trans athletes competing against biological girls is not fair. So let's read about this. On Saturday, a transgender biological male competed in the Sherwood Need for Speed Invitational, a track and field competition held at Sherwood High School in Sherwood, Oregon. Aiden Gallagher, a grade 10 trans-identifying student from McDaniel High School in Portland, competed in 3 girls events, the 200 meter, 400 meter, and 4x100 meter relay. Gallagher finished the heat in first place with a time of 25.49, beating the heat's next fastest competitor by over 5 seconds. 5 seconds. 5 seconds in track and field is a lifetime, right? I mean, it is absolutely insane, right? Again, I mean, you talk about most competitive competitions, right? When you talk about track and field, come down to maybe a few seconds, maybe a few deciseconds, okay, if the competition is really, 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 really close, okay, as it should be. But 5 whole seconds is crazy, right? It's insane. The time gave Gallagher a second place overall finish in the girls 200 meter, with Astor Jones of Roosevelt High School finishing in the top spot after running 24.4 for 3. All right, so let's actually watch this. Let's watch this.
Wilhelmina, Jaden Vandervee. In 7 for Bergen Episcopal, Abby Wilson. Out very well is Gallagher, McDaniel in lane 2. You're going to see Gallagher later on in the relays. Great knees, great drive. Gallagher, the victory here in section number 1.
Wow.
25-49.
Wow. Now, this person could have took a nap. Okay, that's how fast that this person finished over the biological
Second,
girls.
Wilson in 30-77. Third, Skyspers in 31-31. Fourth, Messiel.
Wow. So as you can see, this person smoked the competition.
McDaniel in lane 2.
I mean, it's
See
just
Gallagher later on in the relay.
this is not fair.
Great knees.
Now again,
great
according to
drive.
CNN, this is a narrative, right? This is just a narrative, right? This is a narrative. Okay, this is not a fact. This don't really happen that much. It's just a narrative. Oh, we need to evaluate on a case-by-case basis whether or not trans athletes have an advantage over biological girls in sports. We need to evaluate based off the sport. Again, which sport is it that trans athletes don't have an advantage, right? I would really be interested in knowing from any of these woke revolutionaries, which sport or athletic competition do biological boys not have an advantage over biological girls? Which one? I would be fascinated to know which sport they are talking about. Okay, I want to know. But again, what you see here is reality. Okay, this is the reality. It's not fair, and you know it's not fair because if this person had competed against boys, they would not have come anywhere close to finishing in first place or being competitive, right? If Gallagher had competed in the boys 200 meter in Sherwood on Saturday, a time of 25.49 would have resulted in finishing in 61st place. I can imagine that's probably near last, okay, at the back of the line. That doesn't sound good. Again, this is what we're talking about, okay? If this person had competed amongst their sex, they would not be very good. But because they're competing against the opposite sex, now all of a sudden they're a superstar, right? That to me is not fair, okay? That is also more evidence that it's not fair. Gallagher finished the quarter mile race with a time of 55.61, again taking second place in the girls competition. In the boys 400 meter competition, this time would have resulted in finish in 57th place. In the girls 100 meter relay competition, McDaniel High School took 7th place with a time of 50.81. Gallagher has garnered attention at a time when reforms have been made in collegiate organizations, barring biological males from competing in women's sports competitions. Yeah, so this happened in the NAIA, right? They've essentially banned it. The woke revolutionaries broke down, said, oh, it's not fair. Oh, there's an attack on, trans people, and that's just simply not the case. It's about maintaining fair competition. That's really what it is about. Okay, that's what it's about. In January, the state's varsity athletic policies made headlines when a high school tennis coach resigned in protest of boys playing girls sports, calling it wrong. Dave Brown, who managed the girls varsity team at Canby High School in Oregon, posted a video on social media discussing his decision. In the caption, Brown wrote, quote, "This week I resigned from my position as the head girls varsity tennis coach at Canby High School. It was not an easy decision to make. I love coaching and have enjoyed every moment of working with these girls, but I can no longer stand by and watch as their dreams are shattered and their opportunities are taken from them. I can no longer stand by silently while all the work that was put into Title IX is disregarded. I cannot support policies that put the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual health of women at risk. I stand by my wife. I stand with women. I stand for truth." Gallagher's recent performance in the latest example in the ongoing debate surrounding transgender athletes in women's sports, while reversing transgender inclusive policies, gained traction with sports regulatory organizations upholding the integrity of fairness of competition. Yeah. So you have some organizations that are coming around to common sense and reality of why this is not fair, why this doesn't make sense. And this is just another example, okay? Just another example of unfair competition that the left supports, okay? They don't like civil rights for women, right? They don't like, Title IX. It seems to me that, again, they kind of want women to not be able to compete fairly among themselves, to have their own spaces away from biological men and boys. It seems like they really don't want that, okay? And they're actively fighting to preserve the unfair competition and having biological boys and men in women's spaces. And I'm not sure how you can call yourself pro-women or on the side of women's rights when that is your position. But hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.